Mickey Dickey here. And one of the questions that I get quite often is, should I pull money from my 401k to pay off credit cards, to buy a home, pay off car loans, etc.? I want to preface this by saying I am not a CPA or a tax advisor. That's not what I do. I'm not an attorney. Any of this stuff you should actually talk to your financial advisor about, talk to your CPA, and talk to your legal counsel to make sure you're doing things that's best for you. What I decided to do was go online and see what Dave Ramsey had to say about it. He normally gives really good advice. And I want to go through a couple of cases that he had and then give my opinion based upon those cases, expand upon what Dave was talking about. So here's his first case.
The Dave Ramsey Show. How can we help?
Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Sure. What's up?
I had the last 2 years be pretty whirlwind for me. And from it, me and my wife have gathered up about $25,000 in credit card debt. And I was wondering, is it ever a good idea to take out a loan on a 401k just to pay it off?
Nope.
So I love the answer. And the vast majority of the time, the answer is no. Now, I'm going to put this out there. There are times when it's might be a different answer. But again, talk to your CPA, talk to your financial advisor. But generally speaking, the answer just should be no.
Two reasons. One, you unplug a good investment and pay yourself a lousy interest rate. And so instead of making 10 to 15% on some good mutual funds, you're paying yourself back 5 or 6. Reason number two is when you leave your company, and you will leave your company, when you die, when you get a better job, or when they fire you, lay you off, whatever, you
Just
will.
to chime in, when you retire, which is our goal, is to help you retire when you want to retire. But again, part of it, so keep that in mind as well. Not just the bad things. There's some good reasons we leave jobs too. So
Will leave your company. When you leave your company, a 401k loan is considered due in full within 60 days. If you do not pay it in full within 60 days, you get penalized and charged taxes, a 10% penalty plus your tax rate. And it's the
now, again, kind of mixing things a little bit here, where he's talking about the 401k loan. Clearly, that's not going to be taxable. But what he's saying is if you don't end up paying it off and you leave early, and it becomes a taxable event. The other part of this is if you're in the healthcare system, i.e. you go to healthcare.gov to get your health insurance, go in there and you tell them how much income you're going to make. And if you're planning on making 90,000, but this year, because of this scenario, you've got another 25,000 on there, it's going to mess up your system that you just set up, and you're going to have to repay a lot of the money that was set up on the healthcare system. Again, just another thought to keep in mind here.
the last time you need a loan coming due suddenly. So it's a nightmare. It sounds like it's a good idea on the surface when you just go, oh, instead of 18% on the credit card, I'm getting this. And I'm paying myself interest anyway, instead of paying them interest. And that's how people think about it. And they get themselves really into a sort of serious pinch. What's your income, Jeff?
On an average year, I make about 65 to 70.
Okay, is that your household income or just you?
That's just me. My wife makes another 18 to 20.
Okay, and so you're like a $90,000 household income, and you have $23,000 in credit card debt.
25, yeah.
25. What other debt do you have, not counting your house?
I have my cars. I think I owe 15,000 left on that.
Okay, all right. So $40,000 makes you debt free, and you make 90 a year.
Correct.
Okay, so what if we said 20 a year for 2 years? That'd be, not really pushing hard on the gas at all.
Okay. Now, one of my issues with this particular client, and again, it's a little off topic for whether I should pull money out of the 401k or not, is this. He doesn't actually make $90,000 a year, live off of it, which is what Dave is saying. He makes 90, but he's really living off of around 67,000. Okay. And without knowing the next statement, because he's making this comment without knowing how much this guy's putting into his 401k, it really is a little bit of a concern to me that Dave is trying to tell these guys to take $20,000 net out of 67,000 and just pay off debt with it. So again, that's not how I would recommend it, but let's finish this up.
Instead of living on 90, you live on 70 and you're debt free in 2 years. So I think you ought to do it faster.
Oh, should I lower my 401k contribution?
You got to stop them.
Got to stop them? Because I'm putting in 25% right now.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. And this is a part I have a problem with as well. So here's somebody who's told you for the last couple of years he's got a problem or has had some problems. It sounds like he's just coming out of it. So it's not like he's been making $90,000 a year, or at least with the problems he's had, it doesn't sound like the 90 was maybe enough for what was going on. And we didn't pry or question, and I'm not saying we should or shouldn't on the show, but clearly there was more going on here for them to actually rack up $25,000 in credit card debt. So keep that in mind. But he's selling him to stop putting money into 401k. And again, I really have a hard time with this, and Dave says this a lot, and that's one of the areas I really have a hard time with Dave on. And the reason for that is this. In this particular case, he's putting in 25% into his 401k, which is almost just over $16,000 a year. Now, given that's almost enough on a gross basis to pay the 20,000 he's talking about and pay the stuff off and get out of debt. Again, that's gross, not net, because if you pull it out and not put it in the 401k, you're not going to bring all of it home. You've got to pay tax on it. But my problem is that 6% of that would be around $3,900, which means if he has a 6% match from his 401 his company, that's $3,900 he's not getting from his company for the next 2 or 3 years that I don't necessarily agree with that you let go. I'd rather him wait an extra month or two, pay it off an extra month or two later, and still get the $3,900 each year. It's free money. Okay. So I don't know that I agree with that, but if all this guy does is take the payments that he was paying on the credit cards and take the roughly, $12,000 more that he's not putting into the 401k and put it towards that, we can probably pay this off in the same amount of time that Dave's talking about here, but still get the contribution. So again, I think it's an opportunity that we're missing out on here by focusing on paying this stuff off a lot sooner than, or not. Again, I'm not saying prolong this. I'm saying that it does matter and how much the guy's putting in here, because in this particular case, there's a whole lot of money the guy's putting in there. He doesn't have to stop at all. He can go on and do another. Now, again, we're getting off topic on that. So the other part of this was, I wanted to go to this other video that he had going on here.
Right now, we have about half of it, or a little more than half, but we can pay it in full if we clear out her 401k. So my question is, should I finance that difference, or should I just get out of the 401k and just have a free and clear house?
Sounds pretty tempting, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you take it out of the 401k, you get a 10% penalty plus your tax rate. So if your tax rate's 25%, that's a 35% hit on your money. So what you just accidentally asked me was, Dave, I want to borrow money at 35% interest to have a paid for house. And that
Right.
would be, of course, ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And we said whatever you told us.
I mean, no, it's not what I want you to think. You don't
Yeah.
want to give up 35% of your money.
Okay. Now, this kind of gets to what I'm saying. Again, he obviously gets this more and more. And if you want to Google, you can find a whole bunch of these out here. You can also find a whole bunch of morons out there that are telling you to do it the other way. So I'm focusing on Dave because he's telling the people the right thing to do. And the right answer is, especially when you're trying to pull the whole 401k out of there. Again, if you're talking $50,000 or whatever it happens to be, $100,000, then you have to pay tax on that the entire year. So it's not just the 10% and the 35. And it could mess up your healthcare plan if you were getting subsidized, if you went through the healthcare.gov systems. All those things need to be taken into consideration when you're doing this. So I don't want to pay the government the money. I don't want to deal with it. So yes, the answer is you don't pull from it. You don't take a loan from it. You don't do that. And again, anyone that's thinking about it, talk to a financial advisor, talk to CPA about it, so you get more specific about your situation involved in this, not just Dave Ramsey's or my opinion on anything. But typically speaking, you don't want to pull money from your 401k. It's not normally a good thing. Because again, if you do have a loan on it, you have a loan that you have to, again, pay back. And I know you're paying yourself back, like Dave says, but it doesn't normally work out the way that you want. So that's just my 2 cents worth. That's a little bit of Dave's idea with a little bit extra on my side of it. So again, I'm hoping that I can help you retire when you want to retire and how you want to retire. If you have any other questions, send it on my YouTube channel. I'll be happy to try to get to it, either write it back to you on the comment section, or I'll put another video out, which I've been doing. I've had several really good questions out there, and I'll be happy to put another video if it's something that it takes a little more time to answer than just write it back. Appreciate it, and Dickey out.